Now for the details of an announcement many have been anticipating. Today marks exactly 4 months and 1 week since the terror attack in Christchurch. It has been 129 days since 51 Kiwis suffered fatal injuries and dozens more were seriously wounded. The 15th of March caused us to rethink many things, and that included our gun laws. Thousands have come forward during the buyback and amnesty since almost the entire Parliament prohibited assault rifles and military-style semi-automatics. As of last night, more than 2,100 people have turned up to more than 20 collection events. More than 3,200 firearms and 7,800 parts have been handed in, and compensation payments worth more than $6.1 million have been processed. Many thousands more have declared their firearms for surrender online. Firearm owners have spoken to media and to police at these community collection events to share their views on the process. At the first event in Christchurch last weekend, Ray Berard handed in his AR-15, the same type of weapon used in the terror attack. He'd brought it out from Canada, where he'd been in the army. He said there was no need for a military firearm in civilian society. He and his wife had been at Christchurch Hospital the day after the shooting. He said he watched 35 hearses leave. Recreational hunter Nathan Doherty handed in his Ruger last weekend because he said, quote, "It's the right thing to do." He said, quote, "We all need to play a part in making society a little bit safer. We give up something, but we make each other safer." Malcolm Wally handed in an old shotgun. He said it was a shame to see it destroyed, but, quote, "If it gets the dangerous stuff out of circulation, then that's the point." The Deputy Police Commissioner attended the first event. He said he went looking for negative sentiment and couldn't find it. There is a new normal around firearms. It is a change of mindset. The most dangerous weapons are being taken out of circulation, ultimately because the wider community agrees it is the right thing to do to make each other safer. Today, we are announcing the next set of reforms. These are designed to stop remaining weapons falling into the wrong hands. The next Arms Amendment Bill will establish a register of firearms and licence holders, tighten the rules to get and keep a firearms licence, tighten the rules for gun dealers to get and keep a licence, require licences to be renewed every 5 years, introduce a new system of warning flags so police can intervene and seek improvement if they have concerns about a licence holder's behaviour, prohibit visitors to New Zealand from buying a gun, establishing a licensing system for shooting clubs and ranges for the first time, set up a new formal group to give independent firearms advice to police, which will include people from outside the gun-owning community, provide for new controls on firearms advertising, require a licence to buy magazine parts and ammunition, and increase penalties and introduce new offences. Will also enshrine in law that owning a firearm is a privilege and comes with an obligation to demonstrate a high level of safety and responsibility. Successive governments have known since the Thorpe Review of 1997 that our gun laws were too weak. Further attempts to change the system in both 2005 and 2016 failed. Our gun laws date from 1983 and they're dangerously out of date with technology, with trade, and ultimately with society. The changes announced today have been decades in the making, and it is now up to this Parliament to deliver in the interests of public and personal safety. I'll now pass over to the Police Minister.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I also want to acknowledge that the response by firearms owners to the buyback and amnesty has been outstanding, and it shows that everyone is playing their part to make our communities safer. The vast majority of our gun owners are law-abiding and responsible, and the law changes will reinforce the positive behaviour that is required of all gun owners. As the Prime Minister has stated, the new law will state clearly that owning a firearm is a privilege. The proposed changes will spell out the duties and obligations that come with this privilege. In order for a person to be given that privilege, they must take responsibility to protect and promote personal and public safety. Under the current law, we do not know exactly how many guns are in circulation, who owns them, who is selling them, who is buying them, or how securely they are stored against the risk of theft or misuse. The Firearms Register will address this. The administration of the system is also very outdated. There are higher penalties for unlawfully taking fish than for some firearms offences. It is significantly cheaper to get a gun licence than it is to licence a dog. We need to modernise the system. We owe it to all members of the community, such as the victims of family harm or aggravated robberies, to tighten our gun laws. We also owe it to the men and women on the front line of policing. They turn up to some call-outs with no knowledge of what they are walking into. Every month, police are called to 200 crimes where there is a firearm involved. Every year, between 800 and 1,000 firearms are reported stolen. They disappear into the black market and many into the hands of gangs. Police intelligence indicates most illegally held firearms are stolen from legitimate owners. The legislation being drafted is due for introduction in late August. It will spend 3 months at Select Committee for public feedback. In terms of transitional provisions, I intend to seek Cabinet approval for all firearms licences be valid for 5 years once the bill passes. The only licences that can be renewed for 10 years are those that are due to expire between now and the 31st of December 2019. In the meantime, I encourage all interested people to begin writing submissions so they can take part in the process.